here's what I'm seeing, right? So qualitative versus quantitative. And I think the sales element of feedback loop to marketers is really that qualitative part that they will never get access to. But that's also really important.
Everything leads to growth with the National Association of Sales Professionals. The Leads to Growth podcast with the National Association of Sales Professionals provides in-depth discussions, sharing the best sales, prospecting, influence, and communication skills, as well as sales training techniques to take your professional sales career to the next level.
Great day, y'all, and welcome back to another Leads to Growth podcast. We're here, the National Association of Sales Professionals, and we are here with a very special guest today. We've got Mr. Sujan Patel, co-founder of Mailshake. It gets me every time with that name.
It gets me too, so don't worry.
Awesome. I think that's part of the fun of it, right?
Absolutely.
Sujan is a partner of Ramp Ventures and co-founder of Web Profits. He's over 14 years of sales and marketing experience and has led digital marketing strategy for companies like Salesforce, Mint, Intuit, and many other Fortune 500 caliber companies. He's really an expert on cold emailing. And today we're here to talk about how you can leverage, or how sales can leverage marketing assets to win the deal. And this is a huge piece. Marketing does a great job of putting awesome quality pieces out there. And as salespeople, we really need to know how to leverage those pieces. And I think we've got the number one guy on the call here to help us out with that. So Sujan, I'd love to open up with, and most people fall into sales, right? We fall butt backwards into sales, whether it's by failure or not getting what they want. A lot of people really see when they get there all the opportunities that sales can bring. And obviously you've gone through that process. How did you get initially into sales and marketing?
Yeah, so I would call myself a marketer, not necessarily a salesperson. But I've done so many sales. I've closed so many deals, and a lot of my most successful things have been related to doing and helping the sales team. How I fell into marketing is that I made a website back in 2002, and no one came to it, and I'm like, why? So I had to figure out how to do that. How I got into sales is that, a few years afterwards, when I figured out how to get people to the website, and I was trying to convert them. This is my agency at the time, my first agency called Single Grain. I was the sales marketing. I was the CEO, did everything. I had a team, but I did all the front end stuff. And I was like, I ended up buying another business and bringing on their founder to help do all the sales. And when he joined, our sales doubled in the first 6 months and then tripled 6 months after. And I'm like, what just happened? Is he just that good? And what happened was he was actually doing a good job at selling, and I was doing a really shitty job at selling, or not necessarily a shitty job, but I just wasn't intentionally selling. I didn't know I was selling. I was just a marketer. And so I realized the power of sales, and I realized the power of sales and marketing working together early on in my career. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I got into it. I was like, literally, if I can bring on a salesperson, or somebody who's good at sales, I can double, triple my month over month revenue. And it's all just because some of the most basic things he did. He followed up with people after a phone call. He emailed them. And then when they said they wanted something and they didn't get, when he emailed them and they didn't get back to him, he followed up again, and he followed up again, and he followed up again, which is the craziest thing, right? Who knew follow-ups work, right? It's very obvious. But yeah, so when I saw that happening, I'm like, wow, well, I've been sitting under a rock for too long. I need to get into the sales side.
That's great. So you basically got into marketing after failure, right? You failed on a project that you launched, and you're like, how can I make this better? And then you went and solved, like, all right, if nobody's coming, how do I get them to come? And this is where you control the leads, right? And you control the leads, you have a lot of power in the game. And then you learn the next part was the necessity of selling, right? When you're a one-man show, you're the accountant, you're the marketer, and you're the salesperson, and learning that those habits are important.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. Now that you've had experience in both sales and marketing, so you've seen both sides of the fence. So tell us a little bit about. Tell us about Mailshake, and then if you wouldn't mind leading from there and talking about how, as salespeople, we can start leveraging some of these marketing pieces that our marketing team, we spend so much time and energy and money into putting these great pieces out.
Yeah, absolutely. So with Mailshake, we're a cold email outbound sales tool. And we fell into that as well. We started off as a marketing tool. We pivoted. We built this tool for marketers. Why marketers? Because I'm a marketer. I know myself. I know my friends are marketers. And so it was like, might as well solve something in an industry we know. And solve these problems in outreach. So we were originally an outreach product for, marketing folks, creating business dev relationships, doing PR, what have you. But what people loved about our product was that they didn't really love the overall everything about it. When we got down to the basics, people loved the outreach part. And so why don't we just spin off just outreach and just make this a standalone product, and even just like make it free just to get market share or whatever. When we did that, people loved it. And then they weren't, but after we did some digging and customer interviews, we realized most people that are using it are using it for sales, not marketing. I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. We thought about it. We knew it could be used for it, but we didn't think if we just put it out there without doing, the marketing to that audience, we would use it. But it worked. And so long story short, previously the company was called contentmarketer.io. A year and a half into the business, we shifted over, rebranded to Mailshake, because calling it Content Marketer.io, it means nothing to salespeople. And so, that's kind of what we did there. So
the flexibility in the way you've zigged and zagged when life comes. This is just a beautiful lesson for everybody. I hate to interrupt you when you're on a flow, but man, if you've heard his 3 stories already, is everything has been a zig. He went this way, didn't work, he zagged, right? He went this way, it didn't work, he zigged.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you kind of have to flow. And I think a lot of people try to be rigid. I always look at what's the outcome or goal I want. And then, so there's where I am and then a plot of where I want to be. And, there's never a straight line to get there, right? You think there is, but if you are stringent on the line, it's going to break everything not being able to get there. So anyways, that was kind of my thing. And again, before Mailshake, I worked as a VP of marketing at a company called wheniwork.com, scheduling software in the HR space, really boring stuff. And I worked with Intuit. I worked with lots of different HR and finance companies. Pretty much the biggest, my marketing is in charge of growth. Sales in charge of, bringing in the revenue. I think marketing and sales together drives growth. But what I realized is that the biggest impact I've done, the things I've done had the biggest impact on growth at wheniwork.com and even other companies prior to that, or when sales and marketing work together. And even to break it down even simpler, when salespeople had the knowledge or thinking about things the way marketing people were thinking about it, or when marketing was doing a 1-2 punch with the sales folks, okay, I realized that a lot of marketers don't really put themselves in the sales shoe. Mm-hmm. They don't put themselves in the hey, what happens after a lead comes? You've made this promise on a landing page. They fill out the thing. They want something, and then they have to talk to somebody, or they have to have this conversation, and then they become customers. Do they actually get the thing that you promised them? So right. we made all of our marketing team at When I Work and join the sales calls once a week. They would join as a second person on the call, just putting themselves on mute. We also made everyone do customer support once a week, and really just end to end, knowing when a visitor comes to the site to when they become customers, what are the breaking points in between? And we just became a better team. But by doing so, we just got a really good connection with the sales team. And they told us people are asking about this, and or they have this objection, or they're saying this, or they want that, they want something. And I was yeah, we have that. It's right here. He's one of the salespersons, it was one of the persons wanted a video. I'm well, we have a video. We have 1,500 videos. And I just pointed them to the channel where we can share that. And so giving them access. The other thing is they gave a lot of feedback on what leads are really good, what leads are really bad, and why they're bad. And I'm like, oh, so they're bad because they're not big enough companies. And so I was like, well, let me just change some things in the marketing flow. So that what we did is like when somebody filled out a lead form where they're signing up for our service, anyone over 100 employees would go to a salesperson. Anyone under 100, anyone from 10 to 99 employees would go to like our support team that were kind of just doing sales, like a little bit of hand holding. And anyone under 10 would just go through them self-service flow. And all of a sudden the sales team's like, wow, I have like a tenth of work to do. And now I can spend a lot more time with the right leads. And all of a sudden the leads are better. So it was little things like that just happened from like, I swear, like lunch room, break room conversations that probably should have happened way earlier.
I love that. We always fall into these siloed conversations, right? There's so much to do. Marketing's got to meet with marketing, sales got to meet with sales. And we forget to take that time to bring each other into the process because the sale's not over once you collect the money, right?
Absolutely.
Everything's got to be delivered. Then you have to have a happy customer, and then you look to retain that customer and bring them back in through the circle again. That's really, really great. Now, how were you able to increase these communication, like open up the channels and open up the walls for each department to connect?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is just getting the leaders, the head of sales or head of sales ops, customer success, support and success and marketing, sit in a room together and just talk through what are the biggest pain points. What are the bottlenecks that are holding the company? What's holding things back? And what's your biggest frustration? Let's just vent. And I started this by I took all those three other leaders, I took them out to happy hour. And I was like, guys, I want to buy you drinks. You guys work hard, you talk to customers. I'm just going to buy you a couple rounds of drinks. And the conversation naturally opened up into, us working together. And that evolved into let's do this during the day. We should definitely do this. We should definitely talk more. And then over time, I was like, it's good if we talk, but like, why don't we get some folks who actually do this stuff? Like the 20 salespeople were actually on the phone. Let's just get them in a room and let's go get the 3 marketing people that are doing all the paid traffic and making all the landing pages and all that stuff, all talking to each other. And so that's how we got in a cadence. And then we went too far. We talked every week, and I was like, nothing's really happening that fast. Let's talk every couple weeks, every month. And so that's kind of how it happened. It naturally unfolded, but really it was this taking out the sales guys for drinks. And
that's the tip of the day right here. If you take one thing from this podcast, take your salespeople out for drinks if you want something.
Yeah, well, if you're a sales guy, go take your marketing folks out for drinks because they'll open up all the things you need to know. Right?
Goes both ways.
Exactly. And the reason this happened is because our CEO was like, he was like, Sujan, go spend some time with our sales team. You're keeping them really, really busy with all the leads that you're bringing in. But I want you to. I just want you to see what happens after you bring in the lead. So he didn't give me any other instructions.
Sure.
And I was like, wow, okay. And by the way, we were doing 15,000 leads a month. And that was, probably 8 salespeople. So the numbers don't add up properly, right? So 15,000 leads, 8 people, there's no way this is going to work, right?
No.
So that was the problem. And so, we ended up really at the 15,000, there's probably 600 or 700 that these 8 people, that 5
really
people talk to. Exactly. So anyways, that's kind of my long-winded, my answer.
That's beautiful, man. And I love how your CEO didn't tell you a problem, didn't tell you go solve this. He said, go check it out. Go observe for yourself and allow you to make the judgments and assessment yourself. That's
absolutely. I think that's a really important thing when you're thinking sales and marketing and working together is that the problem you think you have is probably not the problem at all. That's probably the result of another problem, which is ineffective communication between these two teams or metrics not being shared or not even having metrics or places to share the metrics, right? Just go with an open mind on both sides and just kind of observe and then start to think about okay, here's what's causing this, here's what's this and that. And if you think about this, everybody works for the same company. They kind of have common goals, right? Sales, sales is notorious for having aggressive goals and holding people to it. You get fired if you don't do if you're an SDR, you don't do the 100, sales calls, you don't do the things. but on the marketing side, I think you usually don't see that happening. You have a traffic goal, but
Right.
ultimately it's traffic, some freaking person talking to somebody else, and a relationship forms and they convert, but it's still one company's job to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that, that comes it goes back to a lot of culture, right? And aligning everybody behind the same vision, the same purpose, the same values, so that they're all moving in the same direction. I like,
Absolutely.
and also like what you said there too. Don't always make the assumption, right? There's primary causes and there's secondary causes, and there's all these. You got to look for the root cause and make sure that you're addressing the root cause. Otherwise, you're solving a problem that's not really going to fix anything.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk specifically about sales. So we work directly with our marketing department, and I've had a lot of conversations. Like, marketing puts out these great pieces of content, right? That's their job. These tent poles, these all these great things. And then a salesperson, how are we supposed to leverage those pieces? One, to really make progress with a potential prospect or client.
Yeah. So I think there's a couple of things. One is looking for friction points in the conversation, just jotting down a list. So let's say friction points, price, or this feature, this functionality, or how to do this, or I'm in the government space. How do you deal with extra security precautions, or certain laws if they're in different countries? Like, there's all these things, right? Everybody has. If you're a sales guy, you can make a list of rejections for a year that is a mile long or 10 miles long. But like, share that information. And what I would recommend is create a spreadsheet. And there's usually content that can either be created to solve that problem, or content or marketing collateral that has already addressed that problem. Right? It's one of the two. Or it's a feature product, related thing, and that's a different problem. But like, I guarantee you, if you are a salesperson and your number one objection is a certain specific feature, they might not listen to you the first time, but they will listen to you the 100th time somebody requests that it doesn't purchase because of that one feature. Right. It will get done. And the fact that you documented it, that's even better, right? So I think sales, document things, write things down, share that as information in a spreadsheet. And what I normally do is I will go and, when I onboard salespeople, I will give them like, hey, here's all the case studies. Here's where you can find all the case studies. It's not like an onboarding of here's where you go for the coffee in the building, and here's where you go to the bathroom. It's more of like, here's all of our case studies. Here's what we're doing on our blog. And I'm giving them a lay of the land, not like going into the complete depth. Sure. And I'm giving them an open door policy in terms of like, if you need content to be created or you think it's helpful, create it here. Because I can tell you that some of the best content we've created at Mailshake, the things that have worked the best are from listening to customers and listening to them sell, of like, hey, I keep running into this. And if we don't have a core, we have a customer success team, or what you'd call it inside sales more than anything. Mm-hmm. And it's listening to them talk to customers and their outputs that help us create better content. So that was the one thing that has changed our growth trajectory, is that when we started listening to our customers and are listening to the feedback from our folks talking to customers, we ended up creating so much better content that was much more higher traffic and engaging.
I absolutely love that. Just paying attention to what the customers are saying, right? It's so novel, and I think it's almost too, where if you're sales and you're only working on your own, you're working as that independent sales department, you hear this information, but you don't know what to do with it, right? Yeah. So what? This is what I have to deal with, and you just let it sit there, and you don't really produce anything of it. You don't look to solve that problem. If you don't have the tools in your box, it is what it is, right? And so I love how you say that. Look, if it's coming up, let's bring it to the marketing department to solve it with content, to solve it maybe even before they ever get to our plate with the content, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of like marketing's job, is to be, a genie in a bottle, to know the problem before it exists, right? And the great thing is marketers can get that information by doing research, competitive analysis, talking to customers, UX, all this stuff, right? Getting deep, and they have access to analytics, product analytics, what have you. So they're kind of reading the customer's mind. But if sales can give folks the context, and they can do it faster than the data would find, right? So like in my data, I can tell you that Mailshake, the customers who have more users are better customers. I can wait 3 years of being in business to get that information on a spreadsheet or in my analytics, or month 2 when my sales guy's like, here's what I'm seeing, right? So qualitative versus quantitative, and I think the sales element of feedback loop to marketers is really that qualitative part that they will never get access to, but that's also really important.
Absolutely.
And also, something about when a marketing person humanizes the whole process, they just get smarter. They get more thoughtful and like, okay, how does what I'm doing affect this other people? Because it always does.
That's beautiful. When they forget it's just numbers, and then they get down to and they get back to the behavioral aspect of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a really good example. Last year, my agency. So I run a bunch of businesses. So Mailshake is kind of what I'm probably most known for. But I run a company called Ramp Ventures, which we own about like 7 SaaS businesses, and I also have a marketing agency called Web Profits. But anyways, my point is, at Web Profits, our agency, we did this awesome, on the marketing side, this awesome campaign last December and generated like 150 leads through a trade show, things we did to promote the trade show, and things to the attendees that were going to the trade show. So we ended up getting a lot of leads before we even hit the trade show, which was awesome. So we teed it up for salespeople. We ended up closing 2 deals. The sales team closed 2 deals, which is horrendously low. It's probably a waste of their time to even go to the event to do 2 deals. But marketing, they couldn't stop jumping up and down for like the next 3 months about how awesome of a job they did. But I was like, guys, you failed. Like, that was great that you got all this attention, but you generated 2 leads. Now it was December, so maybe we would have normally generated not 2 leads, 2 customers. Would maybe have 8 or 9 customers, but like we wasted a bunch of time and money on things that just generated 2 versus 8 if we did nothing different, right? So giving them that information, they're like, oh, and then they found out what failed, and it was really that they're like the 150 leads that they got even well before the conference or the trade show was mainly they didn't qualify. They didn't do enough to qualify them. So the next time we did the same exact thing, we didn't get 150 leads. We got 15, but the sales guy had more time to go walk the floor and do more things at the trade show, which allowed him to close more deals. But he had really 15 solid deals.
That's awesome. Yeah, and having 15, I mean, just for the psychology aspect alone, having to talk to 150 people who are all wrong, and having to talk to 10 or 15 that are all pretty close to right. I mean, that's just beautiful momentum as well, too.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. Is like that headspace, and also just the accuracy, right? Because like usually, if you're everyone listening here, you usually know in a couple of minutes if like this is just a complete waste of time or not, and if this is not a good fit. And sometimes most of the time when it's not a good fit, you kind of can't just let them off the hook in 2 minutes. Like they may keep asking questions, or it's going to waste it's going to waste both people's maybe 15 minutes. And
right.
it's just
and
like
when it's 150 calls, your mind jumps on the first thing you're looking for is another reason for this one to not go right, because you're in that routine of it. Whereas if you get 3 or 4 in a row that are lined up, you're like, oh, this next one's going to be a gem. Your psychology is just completely turned on the upside. And I imagine that your conversations at that event are probably that much better as well, because of the confidence that you bring to the table, knowing that everybody here wants what you got.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if you have 150 deals and the first 5 or 10 suck, you're going to go through the motion of the next 140 also not being great. So you're like just making excuse of why you're looking for excuses of why this is not a good deal versus like the silver lining of like, oh, we could do this, or this could be a good deal.
Absolutely. So, great perspective on that. And I love just that we, understanding that the sales process is not just this, and it's not just the marketing process is not just this, that we're all interested in the customer journey, and that's the most important aspect of the whole process. What about tools? So are you always, I've seen some different tools out there where marketing teams or they basically load up content for their salespeople that apply to different areas of the sales cycle or things like that. Do you use anything like that? Do you recommend anything?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would recommend something like Buffer, where the marketing team can control or can help like load up all the good content from the blog, what have you, into the sales reps. Also, I would recommend the sales reps just read the content that is being loaded up. Participating in LinkedIn really is good. I think having what we notice at Web Profits, we have about 9 salespeople, and when the sales folks build up their own personal brands and they learn more about marketing, digital marketing, and people just trust them more, right? They're not going into a sales call. They're going into a call, learn their potential clients looking into learning more about marketing. And so we ended up winning a lot more deals. The conversion rate went up when our close rate went up when our sales folks started building a personal brand. So we would recommend doing that. There's another service called QUU.co. I actually, full disclaimer, I own a part of that company. But you can subscribe to that, and you can subscribe to different categories, and they will fill up your social media feed with curated content in a category. So let's say you're selling, medical devices. There's a medical device or medical kind of category. So your content is just like, it's done for you. And it's usually the best of the best content because somebody's curating it. They're looking for like the best stuff. And so with I think it's like $10, $15 a month, it's like you just completely hands off, don't have to do anything. And it's good content. So it's another solution.
Beautiful. Good stuff. And this is one other piece. Let's say I'm a salesperson out there and my company, my sales leader, my organization isn't doing a lot to really bring those pieces together. Not everybody's got the ability just to jump ship and move on to another place. How can I start leveraging? My marketing team still puts out great content. How can I start leveraging some of that stuff on my own as a salesperson on my own without the support of the team? Or is it just as simple as taking the marketing team out for a couple drinks?
Yeah, so I think it's just nothing can go wrong with going out for drinks with the marketing guys or salespeople if you're a marketer. I think that's just going to open up that relationship, and ultimately that's the key to unlocking it all. But the other things you can do is you can just, look at what they're publishing as a marketing team. Look at the blog. Look at what they're doing, right? Almost do an analysis of where you're advertising, what content you're creating, ebooks you're creating. Download it all as if you're a lead yourself, right? And just get that information, right? So I think it's just getting all that marketing collateral that's out there. And reality is, it's actually easier than ever to do it. You can use something like Google. What is it called? Google Trends or BuzzSumo to just say type in your own company name and see what the best stuff that your company has created that's on their website, and just grab that.
I love it. So I think the next step for anybody out there is really get into your marketing content. Read it. Don't just keep forwarding on clips or articles or links to your clients. Make sure you know what it is. And if your organization isn't out there bringing you together with the marketing team and the marketing team with the sales team, go do it yourself. It's going to make you a better salesperson.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And give that feedback, right? When you get that person's ear, when you get the marketer's ear, give them feedback saying hey, the leads are good, but, and then whatever the reasons are, right? Or these leads are great because, so that format works really, really well, right? You want to know why leads are bad. You want to share why leads are bad or what's wrong with certain leads. And you also want to share what the best leads look like, because I can guarantee you with some amount of data, we can tell. So we use a tool called Clearbit, and Clearbit has a tool, a product called Enrich, where you can plug it into your contact form. And if, let's say, I put in my number, I put in my email, Clearbit has my social information and whatnot, and it can pull in my company size right off the bat and plug that data in so that when it goes to the salesperson or wherever, they know the size of the company. So now it's kind of qualified automatically. But that's something we can do with tools and data immediately. But having that information versus knowing what's good and bad about that. And with that information, that's the difference, right? A marketer will have to wait until data comes through the door, run the cycles of, the deal flow, the number, sales converting, what have you, demos, get enough data to make a data-driven decision. The other alternative to this is you pick up the phone, you talk to the salesperson, and you get the qualitative feedback. And most of the time, it's kind of close in the numbers.
I love it. So not just, these deals suck, man. Come on, right?
Yeah.
give me some reasons. And I've seen it. I've managed sales teams where the person, only words you ever hear from their mouth is to say the leads are bad. Tell me why, and tell me about the one good one you had. I love that point that you made, Sujan. Look, if you're going to your VP of sales or your sales director, your sales leader, your marketing department, and all you bring them is these leads suck or they're bad, and you give them no valuable reasons why, and you never come to them with the positive reinforcement of when they do bring in some good value, you're not going to get good response.
Absolutely. Like, you don't go to your doctor and say I'm sick, and then they end the conversation. They're not going to fix you, right?
That's brilliant. That is brilliant, my friend. I love that. Sujan, I really appreciate you taking the time with us today, man. Really, for all you don't know, Sujan is a new father. Congratulations, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I had a blast. This is awesome. I love talking about sales and marketing.
Great, man. Well, where can our followers learn more from you, Sujan?
Yeah, best place to go would be the Mailshake blog. So it's mailshake.com. Not milkshake. No, we don't offer any milkshakes, unfortunately. That would be the best place. I also blog a lot about marketing and growth, customer experience, sales, everything really I've learned as a founder, as a marketer, salesperson at my personal website, sujanpatel.com. If you follow me on any social, I'm fairly open book. So if you ping me, I will do my best to answer you as fast as possible. Or have already content around it. Hopefully, I've already predicted the questions you guys are going to ask. So that's what I'm around it.
This guy definitely leads by value, leads, money follows. I mean, if you look at his content, he puts it all out there for you. Any answers that you need, more than likely he's already got some content created.
Thanks, man.
Sujan, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Thank you, everybody, for following. Check out another Leads to Growth podcast. We'll have one next month. Check out the backlog and become a member today, y'all. We'll see you again soon. Thanks, Sujan.
Take care.